Welcome to the first session on LibreOffice Base, the database file program from LibreOffice. In this session, we'll be looking at answering the question that's on the screen at the moment. It's a database question, obviously. You might want to pause the video here for a few minutes and read through the question so you can see exactly what it is we're aiming for. We don't aim to do it all in this one video. In the first video, we're going to look at creating the database itself, which is basically questions part A and part B. And then you can enter the stock records yourself, which is part C. And then the last part, which is the query, we'll do separately. So the first bit is just about creating the database. Okay, let's do that. So we're going to go to Office, LibreOffice Base. Okay, I'm assuming you've paused the video and you've had a read of it, of the paper. Right, so when you come to create a database with LibreOffice, as you can see in the first part, we get what's called the database wizard. Welcoming you to LibreOffice and asking you what you want to do. There are several options, 3 options. One is to create a new database. That's the one we're going to be using, but you could also open an existing database file, or you could connect to an existing database. They're the 3 options. Well, we're going to use option 1, which is create a new database. Once you've done that, you can click next, and this asks you now, what are you going to do after you created the database? Well, we're going to open it up for editing. So, and also we want to register it. If you register LibreOffice database within the LibreOffice suite, then basically what you're doing is giving access to things like Calc and Word and Impress. You're giving access to the database from those other applications. Okay, so we're going to open a database. We could create tables using the table wizard, but since this particular question is very specific, we're not going to use that. So we're going to click finish and we'll enter our file name for this. If I just click into base exam question, this is where I'm going to put this because it is exam question. So let's have a look, and we're going to call it STOC stock, and I don't like to use places. I put it in the search thing. I didn't want to do that. I want to click it up here. STOCK stock control, but I'm going to not separate the words with spaces. Instead, I'm going to use capitalization. So there we are. It says stock is the first word, so it's a capital S. The next word is control, capital C. And if I was going to put something else in there, that would have capitals. It's in order to avoid using spaces, which sometimes can cause problems. Okay, so that's stock control. We're going to save it. And now what, that was quite quick. Now what LibreOffice has done is gone and collected the data for our stock control program. Now, what have we got here? Well, this is the basic stock control thing. Okay, we got tables. That's what we're going to use in the question. The thing asks you to set up some tables with certain data types. Is it an integer? Is it text? Is it a date? Is it currency? Underneath, later on, we're going to look at queries, then we're going to look at forms, and we're going to look at reports. But for the moment, we're going to, bit like a spreadsheet, we're going to create a table. Okay, so let's see, what have we got here? That's a form. I don't want a form, I want a table. Oh, crumbs. Insert a table for table design. That's what we want to do. We want to pick up a table. Okay, so this is where we create our columns, if you were talking about spreadsheets, rows this way. But so these are the field names. A field name is if the header of a column, like your age, your date of birth, your address, and so on. That's what they're field names. And in the first one here, we're going to give it a name, and on the sheet of paper it says code. So I'm going to put in CODE. That's the field name. Now, what's popped up here is text variable character text. So that covers everything, and that's why it pops up. But we don't actually want to use that because it's very specific. The code has to be numeric, integer, and there's also a little bit of a hint here. It says this field contains unique data, non-duplicated. So that's a little clue for the examiner to tell you, hey, this is going to be your identification field. We'll look at that in a minute. So let's click on text varchar. We want to choose the right text. We want integer. So where's that? Dum dum dum. There it is. So we've selected integer. Now down the bottom here, we've got the properties of that field. So is it auto value? Well, unfortunately, it's not. If I was doing this, I'd have made it auto value because as you add things, they're going to be unique. But the numbers on the question vary. So the first one is 4010. So I don't want to have auto value in there. I won't be able to enter these. Is entry required on the code? Well, yes. If it's going to be the ID, which I suspect it is. The length 10, that's fine. Default value, well, we don't want a default value. And the format example is 0. Now, this little thing here is quite important. If you click on it, you can see, and this is where you get the format of things that you're entering. So you can have numbers, percentages, currency, date. Later on in the question, it asks you to set one of the fields, and I can't remember which one it is. Oh yeah, the price to be currency. So when it comes to price, we'll look at currency, but that's okay for the moment. So let's just get rid of that. So there's the first one, code. Now, let's go back into code. This is actually going to be an index. It's going to be the index field. So special character, is that right? No, it's this one, sorry. Primary key. This is going to be the primary key. Now, why am I guessing that? Simply because it says this field contains unique data. And that means that's probably going to be the primary key. Okay, now let's save that. I like to save things as we're going along. I want a name for the table. Now I'm just going to check the question to see if it asks us for a name, and it doesn't. So I'm going to call it a name. Whenever you put a name into anything in the database, make it sound realistic, because table 1 is not very good. STOCK. So this table is the table of stock, and that's okay. So okay, we've saved the stock, but let me just show you one little thing here. You see, we haven't saved the table itself. We gave it a name, and I forgot a stock control, but we've saved this field, but we haven't saved the whole database. So I'm just going to click on that just so that I make sure I've saved it. I'm not going to do this every time, but that's the sort of thing you've got to be, as you're entering data into a database, the last thing you want to do is for something to go wrong and you lose everything. So always make sure you keep things saved regularly. Right, the next one is province. That's the next field they've got here. PROVINCE, province. And it says, what's the data type of that? It doesn't say. Oh, yes, it does. It's text. So var text is fine. What the difference between text and var text is that var text allows the computer to, it's a bit complicated, alter the memory size that the text takes up. That's really quite useful. It's, yeah, var text is text. The next one is product. P D product. The next one is stock, the amount of stock you've got of that particular product. STOCK. That's making me wish I hadn't called the table stock, although it is stock. So stock, and for stock, that's obviously going to be a number. So the number is, you've got to ask yourself now, is it going to be any whole number with decimals? Can I have a half or something? I don't know. I'm going to make it an integer. No, I'm not. I'm going to make it a decimal. Stock. Oh, it says integer. So integer is what it says. So integer is what it's going to be. In fact, the next one, the reorder number, is also going to be an integer. That's a little bit easier. Reorder number. That's going to be an integer as well. So we go into the field type, click on it, get the downward arrow, and click on integer. Right, the next one is the price. Price, price. Lovely, and we want this to be decimal. And now we want to do something here, because although it's decimal, it was specifically said it's got to be currency. So if I go down here, format example, and click on that, I can choose currency from the field format. There we go. Okay, so that's currencies, that's its format. Oh, crumbs. You see the length is fine. Is it entry required? Well, I would say yes, but it doesn't ask that in there. It doesn't say to set a whether the entry is required or not. So we'll leave that as no, it's not required. Although I would imagine it probably would be. Price, and then we got this thing called special, which I still don't know what that is. So this is whether or not this particular item is special. Now, because it's either going to be special, yes or no, we're going to use the field type Boolean. Let's see if we can find that. Yes or no Boolean. Okay, so that's a Boolean thing. Length 1, entry required, no, default value, well, we'll leave that. You see, if you wanted the default value to be no, you could select it there. We got none, so we don't care what the value is. It could either be yes or no. So you could say everything is going to go in is going to say no, we're not special, and you could change it when you're there. But doesn't, this question is not specific, so we'll leave that. Okay, that's the table we've got. The stock table in stock control. Let's save that. Looking again at the question, that's it. Now it says select an appropriate field and set that as the primary key. Well, we did that right at the beginning, code, and we knew that was going to be the primary key, because in the data type for code, it says this field contains unique data. That's the clue to say, right, that's the primary key. Oh, right, so what you've got to do now is you've got to take a screenshot. Well, we'll skip that. That's our step. We could go in there and actually write exactly what those things are, but we will be guessing because they're not there. Okay, that's it. That's creating a table. I've saved it. I'm going to get rid of that now. There's our stock control table, and you can see we can do things now. We can sort them. Oh, let's save it. Oops. Why is it saying save as? I don't want to save it as. Oh, that's sorry, that's a stock control. There we are. When I clicked on that, it thought I wanted to save it, the stock table, not the stock control database. Okay, so we clicked on the stock, and there's a couple of things we can do here. The first little thing here says you can open the database object. You can open it, you can start adding things to it, adding the stock items here. There's about half a dozen there. Then we've got the edit. We can edit it, edit the actual value. So if I wanted to say, oh no, I don't want the code to be the key field, I want it to be the product, say, then I could change it. Let's just show you that. If you click on that, there you are. There's all those stuff. That's what we could edit at this point. And then we could delete it, which we don't want to do. We just built it. And then you could rename it. Should we rename it? Yes, I'm going to rename it because I don't like stock because it's not clear enough. So stock, oops, let's go there. Stock items, that's better. Still says the same thing, it's stock items, but I didn't like stock and stock control. Okay, so it's called stock items. And notice I deliberately didn't put the space in there. Okay, how are we going to add items to it? Well, we click on this first one here. Why is that taking such a long time? I don't know. Let's do it again. Yeah, there we are. Couldn't have clicked it properly. Okay, so here we've got the stock items. There's the code, province, and so on. And I'll put the first one in and you can add the others to yours. So the code for the first one is 4010. The province is Northern. Oh, crumbs. Trust me to put it in the same field. Boom, 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 boom. Northern. I'm going to cut that out. There's the little cut. I guess you guys know that. I should have gone to there and put paste in there. Northern. Press the tab key. Takes me to the product, which is groundnuts. So the first stock item is groundnuts. Press the tab again. The number in stock is 100. The reorder level is 50. So once 50 of them have been used up, when we're down to 50, we reorder. Press the tab key again. The price is 85 kwacha. That seems expensive, but here you see, don't like this because it hasn't said 100 what. Is that 100 bags? Is it 100 truckloads? Is it 100 individual groundnuts? You know, not very good, but there we are. 85 is the price. And special, you see, you got this little box here now. So if it's special, then we tick it. We put in a little tick in there, but the first one's not special. Okay, so the next one is the price. I'm not going to do the next one. I just put 5052 because that's its code. We're given that. And we'll carry on and fill that in. Of course, once we've done that, don't forget to save it. We can close it and we can save. I had to save it twice there. So, okay, that's it. I hope you can manage that. All right, the next video, I'll fill up all these little bits and we'll have a look at the next item, which is to fill up the database and query it. There we go. Okay. Pop. Thanks. Let's shut this down. Simple screen recorder.